Two Blue Fred here. Today, we're going to answer a question from one of our viewers that left a comment down in the channel. He was specifically asking us how we ran the wires for the Garmin GPS that Blue and I both have installed on our Road Glides. He was specifically asking us how we wired these things up and how we hooked this up. So this is our response. To start with this, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have to remove the ignition switch off of the bike. There's a video that we did a couple of days ago that shows you how to do that. So reference that video and it'll tell you how to remove this ignition piece. Now we're going to remove this screw and this screw on this side, and that will remove the instrument cluster. Got those two screws out, and then this assembly slides up. There are three connectors, one for the speedo and the instrument cluster, one for any auxiliary switches, and this guy over here is really a pain in the tuchus to get to. We did some looking and decided that this would be a lot easier if we removed the headlight assembly. There are 4 screws, nuts, right there, and then 2 on the bottom, right here, and right here. You remove those 4, and this whole headlight assembly will come off. And the whole assembly just pulls out. You've got that one connector in the back, you disconnect it, and everything is free in your hand. Gone ahead and mounted just using a ram mount, a ball, and the arm. We've got the cables. We've zip tied them to the clutch cable. So in order to get all these wires through the frame and the chassis as easy as possible, I'm going to use an old trick, and I'm going to tape the wires to each other. That way I can pull one wire and all the rest of the wires will just sort of come along with it. All this tape is going to come off, so it doesn't need to be clean. And now we've got our one longest wire, which is kind of a fat end, so that's going to be a little bit of a thing, but it shouldn't be that bad. Now we're going to start by fishing these wires down through our instrument cluster, and we want to show up on right side of the bike over here because the hole that we're going to go into is over here. Now Blue made a decision to put his GPS on the left side of the bike. You can put it on either side, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in here and I'm going to kind of lay the bulk wire down, and then trying to keep everything off the paint, I'm going to fish this big wire down through this hole. Just like that. I'm just going to start to pull. Just be careful not to pull too hard or force anything. I'm just pulling, and I'm getting rid of all this here slack. Okay. And now when I'm done, I've got the bulk of this cable through right here and through, so leaving plenty of room for our instrument cluster. And we've got this black wire up by the front of the bike. So let's go to the front of the bike. So after you get your headlight assembly out, it really opens up this space. In the channel that we're going to feed everything through, if we move the camera right here in between the fairing and the bike, that's really going to be a pain. It's a little bit of hard. You see this little channel where you've got wires already coming through right here. You see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the head wire and I'm going to fish it into this channel. And now if we come back to the front of the bike, right here behind the headlight, you can see everything's coming out. You may have to get down here and do a little bit of a dance. But if you're just slow and deliberate about it, it isn't this bad. We did this installation on the Zephyr Blue, and we didn't even pull out the headlight. So it's not necessary to pull the headlight out, but it does make it a lot easier. And now that you've got everything up here behind the headlight, you can just route your cable up and in, and we're going to find a hide place to tuck the bulk of this cable back underneath and behind the headlight, and then we're going to reinstall the headlight and we'll hook all this back up to power. The only pieces that we need up here is the 2 power wires, so we're just going to take all the rest of this and we're going to tuck and coil it back behind the headlight. So the other pieces that are on the harness for the Zumo GPS is there is an audio in, there's a mic in, there's an audio out, and there's a USB connection where you can plug in a USB flash drive or something. We don't use any of these connectors. The only thing that we want is power. Now, you could potentially hack all of these off back down to here, but I'm not really sure what that would do to the interface or the operation of the the Zumo, so I don't recommend that. We just pull them in here and then coil them up and zip tie them and stuff them here behind the headlight. So we're going to get to that action and we'll show you what we got when we get done. Got this bundle of wire all zip tied up, and now I'm just going to stuff it right up in here, out of the way. And now the next part is we're going to go ahead and route this power wire up here. The next step is to find a power source. Now, the original installation of this GPS, the installer hacked a couple of wires here and tied them in to the main wire. That is not how I would recommend that you do this. You can go to Harley. You can get this little piece from Harley, which is a little Y connector. And then you can tie into one of the other power sources on the bike. And then you can hack this one $10 piece and tie into power, which is what we did over here. And then you're maintaining the integrity of your original factory harness. So go and grab this piece, tie into one of these 2 power. There's one on each side. And then you can use some heat shrink and some solder, or you can use some crimps, a bullet connector. You've got all kinds of different attachment strategies. And then tie into that in order to get the power. So we're going to use some crimp connectors to make a quick disconnect easier in case we have to do any maintenance. But that's what we're going to do to reinstall this. So we're going to get to that right now. So guys, we've opted to use a posi tap right here to connect to this. These are real easy to install. You slide the little sleeve piece down over the wire, and then you drop the other piece into the fucking bike. So after you've recovered said part from dropping it in the damn bike, you simply take the bare wire and you get down in here and you twist the posi tap main piece back onto the sleeve. And if you pull on these, give a little bit of pressure, they're not going to come off. So one of these is positive and one of these is negative. We're going to do the reverse on this side to get these 2 in. Now we're going to join these up with another power wire that we had. This goes to a USB power outlet. This guy down in here. And then we're going to take it and we're going to connect it to the posi tap. And because we were doing 2 wires, there's a little bit of bare wire there. I'm going to take care of that just by applying a little bit of tape here. We're now going to go ahead and reinstall the main instrument cluster so that we can get the ignition switch back in, so we can test to make sure that everything is wired up before we put the fairing back on.
Appreciate you, boy.
Yeah, man. Another bike enhancement completed by Two Blue Fred. This was the installation of the Garmin Zumo GPS onto the Phantom Blue. You guys, thanks for watching. You guys check out our new Facebook page, facebook.com/2bluefred. We'll put a link right here. Please subscribe to the channel. We're up to 67 subs. That's an exciting time for us because we're coming up on that 100-mile marker. We're excited about that. We're going to plan something special for you guys at 100 subscribers. So please hit the subscribe button. Ring that bell so you get notified of new content. And leave us a comment. If you have a question about this installation or want to share with us something that you did differently in your installation, we would love to hear about that. You guys take care, be safe, and as always, freaking ride every day.